Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with my mid-month wrap-up. I am wrapping up the first half of April. It is April 15th today I'm filming this, and I am so ready for summer. It has been so gorgeous outside lately. Oh my gosh. So I live in Ohio, and even just looking at my window out of my library right now, there are beautiful leaves on the trees. It was 80 degrees yesterday. I went for a run this morning, and it was like 60 degrees. I got to walk my dogs. I love this weather. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, love winter. I'm a winter girl. I am obsessed with the cold and the snow, but I like the change in seasons and it's time. So I am so excited for how nice it's been and so ready for May and then summer. But I also, before I get started, I read 11 books this month so far, but I wanted to show you my amazing sweatshirt. So if you don't know, this is for Gianna Darling, the Fallen Men series. It is with Novel Grounds. I saw that they had a new sweatshirt with her and I was like, yes, please. And it's so pretty. It has the Fallen. It says 1% MC, take me to church. And it says entrance BC, where it's located, and I got it a little big. I've been doing that in my sweatshirts, so I just want to like live in them forever. But I will go ahead and get to the 11 books that I read. I had a pretty good reading month. I actually though read a lot of the same author. So I read 3 Mia Sheridan and 3 Fiona Cole. So that made up half my reading. But I will go ahead and get to the books I read. So the first one's actually a new to me author. That's The Third Baseman by Lulu Moore. I saw this all over Instagram, so I decided to ask my patrons right before I left for Denver what books they wanted me to read, and I gave them like 5 options. I was like, pick what I read on the plane. I can't decide. And this one won. So I read The Third Baseman. It is a second chance baseball romance, kind of forced proximity, because she ends up getting a new job for his baseball team and she doesn't want to because he like obliterated her heart like 10 years ago, a little bit over 10 years ago when they were in high school. And she's been married, she's divorced, and he has not been married. And apparently he's the one who made her come to his team. Like, he told them, I'm not going to play for you unless you hire her and do whatever you can to hire her. So they hire her for like $1 million. She is a very, very smart like scientist, but she initially worked for NASA, like that was her dream. And I loved all of the talk of like them looking at stars, and he buys her a really expensive telescope. He's got to grovel through this book and does a lot to do that, and it's hard in the beginning because the flashbacks are a little heavy-handed in the past when it was just showing them falling in love, and I was like, but give me like the angst and the drama. Once you figure out why they broke up though, you really understood why he did what he did, and I would have loved a bit of an explanation though of why he waited so long to win her back. But I loved the second chance romance. I loved how she worked for them and she was making a difference for the team. She was really hired to try to make them succeed in very little tweaks and different changes in their routines, and it was like this method she was researching, all that stuff. So she's working with a team, but he is very adamant that he is the only one she can be close with, and it was just the sweetest. I gave it 4.5 stars. I had such a fun time reading this, and he's a baseball player, which I absolutely loved, and it's just second chance, which is one of my favorite tropes. And like I said, the beginning was a little slow with the flashbacks, so give it a chance. Like, get through the first half and see how you like it for the second half, and once it uncovers like why he did what he did, I totally understood his character more and wanted them to get together. So please read this one. It was great. I can't wait to read more by this author. Then I started my Mia Sheridan reading because I actually got to do a live interview with her at Joseph Beth Booksellers in Cincinnati. I was invited by Bloom Books to interview Mia and moderate the event, and it was absolutely amazing. It's so different moderating an author interview in person. Like, I've done 20 plus interviews on my channel. It's just like, I get it done. I'm not ever nervous. It's fun. In person, you like see the people in the interview. Like, I can look at my little icon in my corner and say like 80 people are watching. I don't see them, but in person it's different. So I was a little nervous, but it was so much fun. I love Mia Sheridan so much. She's so sweet, and it was so fun getting to talk to her about her newest release, which is Travis. Bloom is actually re-releasing her books. So this was released a few years ago, and she's going through her books, editing them and putting new content in them and releasing them with new covers with Bloom. So I had never read this. This is the sequel to Archer's Voice, and I read that again, which I'll explain in a second. My thoughts on that book, but this one I ended up giving 4 stars. It is a friends to lovers romance. So Travis is Archer's brother, and it had been so long since I read Archer's Voice that I didn't really remember Travis's character, and so I read this and then went back and read Archer's Voice, and I was like, wow, he was a pretty crappy person. But I really liked this romance. I really liked how Travis had to kind of come to terms with Archer and really acknowledge how crappy he was and try to be a better person and a better brother. And the heroine is in town because she's running away with her brother, and they just hop from town to town to town, and it starts actually with her brother in bed with Travis's girlfriend. So Travis catches his girlfriend cheating on him, and he wants revenge on her brother, and then he starts growing closer with her. I really like the development of the romance. She really makes him be friends first, which was surprising with his character because he was such a mean character in the beginning, but the ending just really hits home, and I just really loved how things wrapped up and like the message behind the book and how his character really grew. So 4 stars for this one. It was really fun being back in that town. And then I also listened to the audiobook of Bad Mother. This one is her newest release, and I saw that it was on Kindle Read and Listen, so I was like, absolutely, I'm gonna download it. So I listened to the audiobook, and it's a romantic suspense, and they've been marketing it as like a romantic thriller, and I would agree that this isn't heavy on the romance. It is a second chance romance. The hero and heroine broke up in their past, and now she is back in town, and she is a like investigator, and she like got kicked out of her other, I don't know, whoever she worked for, and now she's back in her hometown, and someone is murdering all these people in a pattern, and so it's a serial killer, and she's trying to uncover the clues and figure out why, and she has to get reconnected with her ex because something about this deck of cards that was actually like his specially designed deck of cards was at a crime scene. He used to be a very famous poker player, and now he's not, but it is their romance, and this was so much fun. I gave this one 4 stars as well because the romance was lacking for me. Like, I would not technically say like this is like a romance. I would say it's definitely more like mystery thriller with a romance subplot, but the thriller part was really fun, especially at the end. Like, the beginning was a bit slow, like them going from crime scene to crime scene, uncovering different things, trying to like chase down this guy who's not playing with them, but I did not see some of those twists coming. I really love them. Sheridan writes her endings so well. Like, Travis had such a good ending. This one had such a crazy ending as well. So I listened to an audio, but then I had to pick this up from Joseph Beth so I could have a copy for my shelves and have her sign it for me. So this one, 4 stars as well. Very solid thriller if you are interested in that, tracking down a serial killer. And then I did read Archer's Voice again. I listened to this on my drive. So I live about 2 hours outside of Cincinnati. I'm in Columbus. I like to go down to Cincinnati all the time, though. They have amazing events there, especially at Joseph Beth. The drive's not too bad, and so I also listened to the audio of Archer's Voice on my way there and finished on my way home. I love Archer's Voice. I gave this one 5 stars. I just love this book so much. I love the heroine and how she's the only one who really approaches Archer and like gives him a chance, because there's so many secrets and drama and rumors going around about Archer's past, and I just loved how she really wanted to be friends with him because he does not have use of his voice anymore. He was in an accident, and because of that accident and things that happen after it, he's unable to use his voice, and so he's kind of coming to terms with what happened in his past, and he's very inexperienced because once his parents died, he had to live with a reclusive uncle who was not completely mentally stable, and so Archer didn't really experience a lot of things, and so the heroine helps him through that as well. So if you like a very much more quiet and timid hero, I think you would really love this book. I loved his character so much. He, like I said, Travis is horrible. Travis is his older brother, and they are like, there's a lot of family drama in here. It's very small town, so if you like small town romances, read this one, but it's so sweet. Then I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about these 3 in a row because I did end up reading the entire Blame It on the Alcohol series by Fiona Cole. If you know me, I never read series. So Tori from Novel Life and I have been doing read-alongs where we read entire series together, so it forces me to read them. And this one is such a fun series. So I will say I'm really happy we did this read along. The live show is on Tori's channel if you want to see us talking about it. I'll link that down below. But Blame It on the Champagne is first, and I give this one 3 stars. This one was not the strongest in the series. This is a marriage of convenience. The heroine's from like a really wealthy family who has their own like big company, and she is destined to have a marriage of convenience. She doesn't want that though. She's very smart. She went to school. She wants to work, and her father's like, no, you're just to be a trophy wife. And so she's like, fine. She changes her last name to apply for a different company that she knows like a lot about. I think it's like in shipping or something. She knows a lot about like the content, so she applies, and she and the hero immediately have like insane chemistry. So they had seen each other at a bar the previous night, and then they see each other again like in the lobby somewhere, and they hit it off, and they ask each other out, and then he realizes that she just interviewed to work for him, and he's like, you're playing me, you're trying to sleep with me to get to the top, how could you? And she is absolutely just like so angry at him. She's like, I would never ever do that. I didn't know who you were. You didn't know who I was. Like, why would you think that? So like right from the start, there's a lot of push and pull and animosity between them, but there's intense chemistry. And then she actually is trying to get out of an arranged marriage. So she decides to marry him to get out of this arranged marriage from this person who ends up being abusive. So her father's pushing her to marry that other person. She ends up working with him, and Fiona Cole is spicy. Let me tell you, I forget how spicy her books are because she does have the Voyeur series, which it's called Voyeur, and it's about a club called Voyeur, so those are super spicy, but these, like, just looking at the covers, you wouldn't think so, but They're really good. So this one definitely brings the spice, but their marriage of convenience happened like 60% in, so it was pretty late, and then most of the rest of the book was them on their honeymoon falling in love, and I really wanted more of like the real world repercussions and them falling in love in the real world and more of the like, you're my husband kind of thing in front of people. So I kind of felt detached from their romance. Didn't love the pacing, so I gave this one 3 stars. Not my favorite, but then the next 2 books, I read them both in a day. Like, I started them Sunday and had to finish them Monday because our live show was Monday night. So I was physically reading Tequila, and then I was listening to the audio of Vodka. The audio was so good too, like amazing narrators. So Blame It on the Tequila is probably one of my favorite books of the year. This book is a second chance forbidden romance, rock star romance. I am a sucker for second chance and friends to lovers. Those are like what I'm obsessed with right now. This one, they were step siblings growing up. We get flashbacks to when they were falling in love as step siblings, knowing they couldn't do anything about their attraction, but wanting to anyways. You know something happened, like horrific happened, and their parents got divorced. So now she is reconnected with the band because she was working with them to help them like get famous, and she's reconnecting with them because she is super famous on Instagram and she writes songs, and the company she's working with wants her to document her writing songs for their band on Instagram. So she's doing that and reuniting with the band. She has a past with all of them, like they're really good friends, but our hero is specifically the one that she has like a almost relationship with in the past that never really got to be, so it's their chance at that again, but she's super hesitant and trusting him. He did not want them to not be together, so just like the emotions in this book, it was perfection. I am obsessed. There was a little bit of suspense thrown into, which I really loved, and you get to see them going on tour, writing songs together, forced proximity. She's on the tour bus with them. If you like Rockstar, you have to read this. I just loved the mix of tropes was perfect. I don't see that mix of tropes very often. It kind of reminded me of The Words by Ashley Jade because it was second chance and they were almost together and it was forced apart, but this one, amazing. 5 stars. I'm in love with it. And then I did read the third one on audio, and this one is a friends to lovers wake up married in Vegas romance. So she's been adamant all her life she's never getting married. She's the wild friend. They're all in a friend group. You see them all throughout the series, and her best friend is Austin, and he had rejected her for the offer to sleep with him, and so she's like, he's not attracted to me, so they've just been best friends ever since. He has been secretly in love with her the whole time, which is one of my favorite tropes. I love it when it's a friends to lovers where the hero has been pining the whole time. I love it. And they end up married in Vegas, and Austin has been in love with her the whole time, and for her dad's political career they have to act like it was on purpose. So now they have to act like they're married and madly in love, so it's kind of like fake dating after accidentally getting married in Vegas, and it's really sweet. I did give this one 4 stars because she did not grovel enough at the end. She's the one who was pushing him away, and she does something in the end that was really pretty awful, and she never has to make up for it because the circumstance happens where he has to come save her. They realize they love each other, they're gonna be together forever. I needed her to apologize more. I needed her to work for it more because Austin was perfection. He was so in love with her, did everything for her that he could, and she was the one breaking his heart and not doing enough. So 4 stars for this one though. It was great. Austin stole the show. He's my favorite hero of the series. Such a fun series. Highly recommend reading it, especially if you don't love book 1. Please continue on. So then I did listen to the audiobook of The X Effect by Carla Sorensen. This one, I love this series. I really love her Ward Sister series, which is a spin-off of this series. So I read the Ward Sister series last year, I think, and then, or the year before, and then I read the 3rd book because my Hoopla only had book 3, and then I was perusing Hoopla and they had book 2, so I read this one, and this one is actually her ex's brother, which is such a fun trope. I feel like, do I have another one on here? I don't remember. Oh yes, I do have another one on here that has that trope, but this one was just okay to me. I give this one 3 stars. It was a little slow for me because she is like the social media manager for a football team, and he ends up getting transferred to that team. He was going to retire, but then he didn't, and they're slowly falling in love. I read 3 books where it's like siblings ex romance, but a lot of the times the ex is, or like the sibling is like very, very awful. So in this one, her sibling was very selfish, and she did everything in her life to be better for her sibling and give her sibling everything, and her parents cared for her sibling more. And so like the biggest drama was her not wanting to tell her family because it was her sister's ex. Like that was the only thing that was forbidden about it, and I didn't love it that much for that situation. I mean, they pretty much like fell in love pretty quickly, and there wasn't enough more for me. Like, it just felt like that was the only conflict. I'm like, okay. And then she like fakes like she's with Logan, who is the hero of book 3, whose like sisters get the spinoff of the next series. And I loved seeing him, but I was like, this is kind of like annoying because she's just like not wanting to tell her parents. And it's like, is it that big of a deal that she's dating her sister's ex, and like her sister's awful anyways? So I didn't love that. I wanted a little bit more to the plot, so I gave this one 3 stars. Wasn't my favorite. And then I did a reading vlog for my patrons, and that was reading 2 books that they chose for me to read. I gave them a list of audiobooks and a list of ebooks, and I was like, out of these 5, what should I read for you? And they chose The Wrong Bride by Katarina Mora. This one, I love Katarina Mora. She writes angst so well and Billionaire so well, and I'm obsessed with her books. I gave this one 4.5 stars. This one is the first book in the series. The Temporary Wife is book 2, and I think she's almost done writing book 3, and they're all about marriage of conveniences. So the grandmother sets up the stipulation: you have to get married to whoever I choose, you have to live with them for like 3 years, you can't spend more than like 3 days apart, you have to share a bedroom, all these things in order to get like their shares from her. So in this one, they initially chose our heroine and our hero to marry each other. And then one night, the hero decides he's madly in love with the sister. So he's like, I'm gonna marry Hannah. And the heroine, her name, I don't even remember, Raven, is horrified. She's like, I've been in love with Aries for so long. We were supposed to get married. Like, how could this happen? And so the past however many years, it's been like 5 years, he's been engaged to Hannah, who is an up-and-coming actress, and now again we have a vindictive sister because Hannah had a illness when she was young. So Raven was literally only born to give Hannah life, like to like give her something. I don't remember what it was, but her parents have always loved Hannah more. Raven has just been off to the side, and Hannah gets to have the guy. But Hannah's an actress, and she's like, I can't give up my life to be married to you and chained to you. And so the grandmother's like, you're getting married next week, whether Hannah is there or not. You're either marrying Hannah or Raven, whoever shows up you're marrying. Hannah's a no-show. So Raven has to marry Aries. They have been best friends for 5 years. So even though Raven was in love with him, she was like, it's okay, you can have my sister. I still love you. I'm gonna be best friends with you. So they've been best friends for a long time, and Aries is like, you're my wife now, we're gonna give this a shot. So they end up falling in love, and I loved that dynamic so much. Obviously Hannah's gonna come in and make drama, and Aries is like, do I still love Hannah? And then Raven is like, do you still love Hannah? And like, can she be in our lives? And there's so much drama, and there was a little bit of like annoying drama at the end that was pretty obvious. So I wasn't the biggest fan of that, and I also don't love a vindictive sibling. Like, I'm like, your siblings, like, you don't have to like go out of your way to literally ruin their life. So that's why it was a little annoying to me. 4.5 stars though. The audiobook was great. I love Katarina Mora. And then the next book I read for that reading vlog was Black Ties and White Lies by Kat Singleton, and this one I'm a little conflicted on because I gave it 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed the second half of the book. I'm rounding it up to 4 because of the second half. It took a little bit getting used to because I feel like this is definitely written for the tropes. It's written for the people who love the over-the-top, I'm a billionaire, I want you, I'm gonna get you. And that's very much how the beginning was. So it is her ex's older brother, and he is this like big business guy, and he's like, I need to get married because my reputation's not looking well, my investors want me to be a family man, you're gonna marry me. And she's like, no. And he's like, well, I just bought your company, so you're gonna marry me. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he transfers her to work for him and moves her to New York, where she likes anyways. She's an artist. She's always loved New York more than California. So she moves with him, and she starts working for him, and they're engaged, and they're falling in love. Like, looking back on this, it wasn't a bad book. It was a lot of fun. I was chatting about my feelings with it when I was reading it for that reading vlog, because I was like, the dialogue's a little over the top, and like, it's got all of the like tropes you love. Like, he dirty talks very excessively, and I don't know if it would be like natural hearing the dialogue, but I really enjoyed the second half where it was like uncovering why he did what he did. And obviously his brother's gonna come in the picture, but it was a spicy fun time, and it was just over the top billionaire romance. So if that's what you love, you're gonna really love this book. I had a lot of fun reading it, so I am rounding it up to 4 because like I said, I did really like the second half. It just took a little bit to get used to this isn't like poetically written or anything. It's definitely over, that's like all I can describe it as, is written over the top. It's written for the like billionaire wanting to claim his woman kind of thing, but I had fun. 4 stars. And the last one I read was on audio, and that is Moments in Time by KK Allen. I feel like I had so many 4-star reads. So I feel like it was a pretty solid reading month because this was 4 stars. This is a second chance romance. I finally found the audio one by Hoopla. I came in and I was like, yes, I've read the first one and it was okay. But I really love KK Allen. I've met her a bunch of times. I wanted to continue the series. This one's a second chance romance. They grew up on this like island at this camp that like the brother in book 1 really like brought back to life. So in this one, the brother's back in town to help out with things at the camp and build up the saloon that they have, and the heroine is back, and she and him were best friends. We get flashbacks to them when they were best friends, and kind of like best friends with benefits. They were exploring things sexually with one another. They knew they were in love with each other, but they never really took that next step, and then something really tragic happened in the hero's past. His brother passed away, and so I think there's 4 brothers now, and they all really are affected by that trauma. So book 1, definitely they talk about it. I think they're going to talk about it all the way through, especially because I think he was a twin, so his twin brother does get a book. There's 4 books out in the series now, so I think they all have books, but that trauma really tore them apart. So she marries his best friend, and he is so angry, and now it's 7 years later, she's a single mom and divorced, but her husband, ex-husband, still really like holds the sun over their head. She has a dance studio that he owns, and so she's working to pay all that off and support her son, who lives with her husband a lot of the time, and her ex, and she is a exotic dancer. So she does parties. The beginning is him at a client's party where they brought in dancers, and he immediately is like, I'm so into this dancer and I don't know why, and you see him slowly put it together as she's performing who she is, and that's how they reconnect. So the beginning of this, it's a pretty slow burn romance because we don't get them actually getting together for a while, but the beginning was super spicy because we got a little dancing going on a couple times with him, and they're so into each other. But she has to like explain what happened, and he is slow to let her back in again because she broke his heart by marrying his best friend. And it's them back on the island together, back in the camp together, seeing their friends and his family, and falling in love again. And I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I would have loved a little bit more heat like throughout. It did take, I was like listening to it and I was like, I only have like 2 hours left and they still haven't like gotten together yet. So I would have liked it a little bit sped up for that aspect, but I really loved the beginning. I loved her son and her single mom journey and addressing what had happened, and this was really great. 4 stars, definitely more 4.5. I just had so much fun reading this, and I'm excited to continue on in the series. And those are all the books that I read so far in April. Let me know what you've read recently. I would love to hear, and if you've read any of these, let me know your thoughts, and that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye.